Welcome to your reading, Aquarius. I posted a poll this morning requesting your preference on the type of reading that we would do tonight, and the vast majority of you chose a classic Celtic cross and to just leave it open. So that's what we're going to do. And we are going to do 4 more, 3 more, in 2. May we have an accurate reading for Aquarius, please. 1 more. And then we're just going to take the Celtic cross right off the top. And what I will do is, after all the positions have been laid out, I will then pause the tape for a moment while I excogitate. And then we will go through each and every. Clarify that outcome, please. Wow. Okay. This is huge. I like it a lot. I am just going to pause the tape for 1 moment. I'll be right back. So first of all, the astrological signs that we have in this reading are Capricorn, Leo, Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Libra, Scorpio, Virgo, Taurus, Gemini. All right, I mean, you could be dealing with anyone, but these are the ones that are prominent in this reading. Let's discuss the issue. So the issue is the 3 of Pentacles, which is Mars in Capricorn. Now, there's a number of things that this could be. First of all, Mars is exalted in Capricorn, so it's almost like if you could think of a fire sign and an earth sign, and the earth sign organizing the energy of the fire sign. So that's why it's a blending that works very well together. In the original card, there is a seal on the top of the building, and that seal is called the seal of great work done together. Now, I noticed that there are 3 threes in this reading. So this could be a situation where there's some interference from some kind of a third party, or the fact that somebody is constantly consulting with others, consulting or collaborating with others, could be keeping something stuck. And I think that is what it could be in this reading. There is an incredible build up here as we get to the end of ascension, wisdom, and spiritual completion. Your 2 final cards are 2 major arcana, and they're very good. But they don't involve in consulting with other people. And I note that at the bottom of the deck, we have the 3 of Swords. And with that card, we in the original card, there are 3 swords piercing through a heart. And the idea of that card is that for some reason, somebody's heart, what they desire, and their mind are 2 different things. In other words, somebody's desires and somebody's thoughts, they're not aligned at all. So this could be keeping a situation stuck. The challenge, or what's causing difficulty, is a Knight of Wands. It's Leo energy. It's somebody with conquest energy, somebody who is not stable, somebody who is not quite mature. So I don't think that's you. I think that somebody in your vicinity, okay, somebody around you. If this is a love reading, this could be somebody who hasn't wised up, somebody who hasn't ascended, but there is an incredible ascension that's happening here with you in the end, and possibly with somebody else. I note that at the top of the reading, we have a card of Mars, the 7 of Wands, Mars in Leo. So we have somebody, it can be read two ways. And I'm going to give you two interpretations of this card because I think they both apply to this situation. It's very important that you stand your ground. You may have naysayers coming toward you. You may actually not quite know who the naysayers are, but you may feel that, for example, in the original card, there's somebody who is in fact fighting off six wands. They have one wand and they're on the edge of a cliff, but they're successfully they're winning when it's 6 against 1. That's why it's called the Seven of Wands. But those sticks can be faceless, so you may not know where trouble is coming from. You might feel it, or you may have, if you have a platform, you could have some anonymous friction or static going on. But the idea in the Seven of Wands is that you can win with a little help from above. That's the only reason why that person is able to stand their ground. All right. So now I also see, if this is a love reading, you're dealing with someone who is pushing down feelings. All right. So they're literally, every time a feeling comes up, they're pushing it away. These things that are also coming up, these could be thoughts of wisdom. That it could be somebody who is refusing to listen to their higher self. You could be dealing with someone who is not, who wants to consult with everybody, somebody who has to have two lawyers and two building inspectors and two, they want to consult with everybody instead of using their own intuition. Or, well, of course, everyone should do their homework and consult with experts if need be. But the idea, there is a huge theme in the rest of this reading of wisdom and connecting with one's higher self and an ascension. For example, in the subconscious, we have the Hanged Man. All right. And that is somebody, I feel, in this deck, for some reason, there's a situation that is stuck. There's been a lot of waiting going on. Waiting. In fact, in the recent past, there's been more waiting. Somebody here is waiting in the Three of Wands, and it's angsty waiting. Waiting. I'll get to that card in a moment. But with the Hanged Man, there's somebody who, has not seen the situation from a different perspective, and B, it is in need of clicking with the divine, of arriving at a spiritual completion. They will, but there's some kind of a situation here is stuck because somebody is continually consulting with material things, with consulting with the outside. Let's just go back, and that's why I believe, and I mean, this could be that maybe this is you, I don't know, but that's why we have this misalignment here at the bottom of the deck. The heart is saying one thing, and remember that in tarot, the idea is that where you find the truth is the same thing as unconditional love, is the same thing as God, and it's in the heart. Truth is actually, it's it in your heart. Your heart knows what's true. But the mind here is arguing with the intuitive side or with the heart. There's a misalignment, and therefore creating this stuckness. Let's just go and look at the recent past. In the recent past, we have waiting. In the recent past, now the reason why I like the fact that this is in the past is that very often in the Three of Wands, the idea of the card is that somebody has done the work. They've put in what was physically necessary. They've consulted with the experts. They've done their homework. And now they're waiting for the result. Now, there is a vulnerable period of time there between the result coming in and us seeing it, feeling it, tasting it, touching it. And that it's vulnerable because your thoughts are very powerful at that time. You might, I'd give you a tiny little example. I don't know if it's a good example, but just so you get what I mean. You know how, let's say you go on a date with somebody and it went really well, and you know deep down inside that it went well, and you're waiting for them to call, and there's a part of you that knows that you shouldn't discuss it with all of your friends, right? Because it's vulnerable. And what one of those friends may think, so she thinks I'll just go out and screw this up for her and tell Buddy that she's not interested. That type. And so there's an idea. You say to yourself, I don't want to jinx it, so I'll just leave it alone. If you are a baker and you bake bread, or sometimes there's upside down loaves and things. I don't do any baking, but I do know some people who cook and bake. And I remember when I was a little girl, my grandmother telling me not to jump up and down when she was baking bread, because there was a period of time where it could collapse. So in other words, there's a vulnerability here when you're waiting for something to manifest. But what could ruin it here, it's not talking to your friends about anything, it's the mind. It's the idea that thoughts need to be clear and not falling into the negative. All right. So let's go to the very near future, which I love. In the very near future, we have the second decan of Aquarius. We have the Six of Swords. Beautiful card. It's Mercury in Aquarius, and Mercury is exalted in Aquarius. It's where information can just be plucked out of the air, right? If the mind is still and calm, your intuition is in, you could pick up all these truths and everything, but the mind is calm there. And something else that this card is associated with. So you'll hear a lot people discussing the Six of Swords, especially tarot readers. They'll say, it's a card of transition. Well, yes, it is. And do you know why? It is a card of transition because in the Tarot du Marseille, it also represents the period of time where an alchemical phase where one element transitions into another. So there are 7 alchemical processes, the calcification and evaporation and all that kind of stuff. Well, and we have our 20 elements, on our periodic table, where atoms combine to become gold or to become silver, or these elements combine to become something else. This is all done through these magical little alchemical processes. The Six of Swords represents the transitioning from one to another. And it's this beautiful thing that just transitions beautifully. And it happens because the mind is calm. So 100% for sure, I can tell you that in the very near future, there will be a successful, smooth transitioning from one phase to another. And it's beautiful. The mind is calm. Very clear here. The tool is the Five of Swords. The advice here is to be the person in the Five of Swords who is walking away. There are 3 characters in that card. There's the lower polarity, lower vibrational trickster who's cheating, who's being unethical. There's a person who's sobbing and who has been hurt. And then there's a third person who has chosen to just remove themselves from the situation, to push off from the shore of Five of Swords. That's what the person in the Six of Swords is doing. That's the woman in that boat is actually leaving this shore. All right. So the idea here, and just put quite simply, is to don't get into that. Don't fight this person. Yeah, this trickster has won some kind of a battle. They've stolen something. They might have stolen something from you. Remove yourself from the situation. Don't stoop to their level. All right. Now, the outside influences here. We have the 8 of Swords. So, in other words, this is what's affecting something from the outside. Makes perfect sense. The 3 of Swords there, where what is interfering with the heart? The mind. Here, the mind has taken over completely. And there's no heart at all. There's no cups. There's just thoughts and confusion that can't complete themselves. There are 2 things restricting the person in this card from moving. Stuck. 2 things restricting them. The fact, they can't see. But the reason why they can't see, the reason why that blindfold is there, is because the mind, it's all shortened thought, and it's all stress. They are subconscious fears that have taken over. It's Jupiter and Gemini. It's the expansion of negative thought. So you see, there's something about this reading. This could be one of the reasons why the advice here is to walk away. There's something about walking away from whatever this group of people here, or this person who's unstable and has conquest energy, or anyone who's filling your thoughts with negativity, or who hasn't reached this spiritual completion, or who can't see things from another perspective. Because the other thing that's going to come up in the outcome here, this Hanged Man, which is in the subconscious, the whole reason why this is Odin, okay, who hung from the tree of life, and he was suffering, so he figured he would get very, very, very still. And when he got very still and his mind became still, he said to himself, what's good about this situation? And then he realized, started counting his blessings. All of a sudden, ding, he meshes perfectly with the divine. And of course, the hangman is then inverted. This is what's about to happen here. The hopes and fears is the Empress, and I believe that this is your hope to be. Here you are in the major arcana here, generating ideas, generating money, generating, perhaps getting pregnant. It's the Empress is fruitful, okay? She bears fruit, but it's fruit of all kinds. It's money, ideas, inspiration. It's it could be money, but it's just, she generates everything that she wants. All right. Now she is receiving waters from above. She does require waters from the High Priestess. Who's the High Priestess? The High Priestess is the queen of the superior Garden of Eden, and she is the queen of the subconscious mind, trusting the intuition. She is so close to God that she's not, in fact, part of the physical world. But that's where the water, that's where the Empress gets the water to water her garden. Now, do you want to know who distributes the water from the High Priestess to the entire major arcana? The star. That's you. So you distribute that water. Remember that. All right. Now, the outcome is absolutely astounding, Aquarius. Can you believe these 2 power? This is your reading. This is your outcome. These 2 powerful cards. First of all, you've got a card of Virgo and a card of Scorpio. But you have the ultimate cards of ascension, also of twin flames coming together, wisdom, and being guided by the divine. And let me explain. So the Hermit, some people say, oh, well, the Hermit's alone. You're going to spend some time alone. I'm sorry, but the Hermit is never alone. Why? because the hermit is constantly guided by the divine. That lantern that the hermit is holding, it's not actually a light showing him the way. His eyes are not open. In the original deck, his eyes are not open. They're closed. The light is the essence of source. It's one's higher self. You could call it God or whatever you, Allah, Buddha, Krishna, Tao, whatever your idea of the higher self is, the divine. And that is that wisdom. The hermit has been through hell and back. He has made it up to the top of the mountain. And the hermit is now coming down to share his or her knowledge. All right. So whatever you've been through, you have gained an incredible amount of information that you can now share. I asked when I was laying the cards out, I then asked to further clarify the hermit. And we got the Judgment card, which I love. Because in this context, when we were looking at the idea of looking at something from a different perspective, one of the things that I never discuss about the Judgment card is that it is a card. Yes, the Archangel Gabriel is blowing the horn of the esoteric. People are being raised from a coffin, meaning that the power of the divine, it is superior to the whatever power the devil has or anything in the material world. Can $1 million, raise someone from the dead? No, but the divine can. So, the horn of the esoteric is being blown here. But the other idea of this card is that it is judgment. And in the original card, there is a mirror image of the family that in the card, they're looking back on themselves. And yes, so it's facing the truth. It's that you do have to face what you've done. However, their source had the ability of source, of spirit, of God, Allah, Buddha, to forgive is far beyond a human being's. And so one must forgive oneself. So the idea of it is that you sit down and all the things that are making you feel bad about yourself or guilty, you look at them and you see them from a different perspective. After you truly face them and really, drill down and ask yourself, well, where did that go? Where did I go wrong there? And every single part of it, you face it, trace it, face it, and erase it. And that is it's complete. It's like the opposite of being in denial, but it requires you to look at things, really look at them, and you will then see these things from a different perspective. As they say, the truth shall set you free. When I was a little girl, my older brother and I, every now and then we would have nightmares about monsters in the closet. And he taught me this little trick one night, and it actually worked. He said, here's what you have to do before you go to bed. Think about every part of the bad dream that you had in the previous. Go through every detail. And he said, you won't have the nightmare that night. But if you forget one of the details, that'll come up. And by Jove, he was correct. I'm not suggesting that you think about nightmares, but the idea, you get the idea. Trace it, face it, and erase it. The truth shall set you free. It's the opposite of denial. Forgive yourself. And finally, one last comment on the Judgment card. This whole reading is so beautiful about your future. So what does that mean? We cannot change the past, but we can change the future. See how that's done? By looking at the past in a different perspective, right? Guys, this is a very powerful reading. I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.